Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins, and welcome to Financial Lovemaking. This is where we talk about love, life, money, and everything in between. I'm here with my buddy, partner, and co-host, the entertainment director at Ebony Magazine, Miss S. Tia Brown. How you doing today, Tia?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. And I saw that today we were talking about Mr. Dwyane Wade,
Yeah,
and he's doing really well financially. From what I understand, he's worth. I could have sworn they said he was worth 100 million.
that's right. They're saying he clocks in $30 million a year.
So he's probably not having money problems.
Probably not.
Not too many baby mama, baby daddy issues.
But he
Although
does he does have a little bit of
he does have some
of an
kids,
ex issue.
he does have some children. So
Yes.
but it seems that he can afford them. He's not like those broke rappers. He actually has real money,
Oh,
and he
that's exactly.
and he actually saves it and invests it. But there was this report on TMZ that was interesting because it was true, but some would say it was almost misleading, and it said
Right.
that his house went into foreclosure. His house in Chicago, the house that he had with his ex-wife. Did you see anything about that story?
Yeah, definitely. Of course, it's jobs for tabloids to make salacious headlines. So the headlines are, Dwayne Wade's house is in foreclosure. But the truth of the matter is that it's a home that his ex-wife won or received, I shouldn't, because there's no winning during a divorce settlement, and she is financially responsible for paying the mortgage. Apparently, she's decided, whether it's due to lack of resources or just choice, that she was no longer going to pay it. And the house, which is a massive home, several thousand square feet, 6 bedrooms, in a posh Chicago suburb, is now about to be in foreclosure. Now, they're saying that she owes about $225,000 on the home. For those of you guys who don't remember, Dwayne had a very, very bitter, nasty, drawn out divorce with Siohvaughn. They separated in 2007, and it took about 6 years for the divorce to be finalized. Now, according to the Chicago Sun-Times, when the divorce was finalized last year, she received $5 million. Yeah. Right? So that's more than enough money, some would assume, to pay the mortgage. We have no idea what her expenses are, obviously. And we also know that she lost custody of the children, so she's no longer receiving child support. So I'm not sure how that affected her money. But the house is actually Siobhan's responsibility. Dwayne is very clear in saying, not my responsibility, it's totally hers. And he's planning his wedding to superstar actress Gabrielle Union, which is slated to happen sometime in August.
Hmm. You know, I feel so bad for her because she did lose custody of her children, but I think she lost a lot more. It
Right?
seems like, I mean, sometimes I wonder, has she lost it?
Yeah.
Lost it, whatever it is, because I, I think that there's something that traumatic and tragic that she must be feeling from this divorce. Maybe there's some sort of resentment and animosity that she has toward Dwayne, who's kind of moved on to, maybe these greener pastures now that he's
Or just what's next.
right. Yeah. The what's next? Well, I wouldn't even say
Yeah.
greener pastures. Just this more glamorous kind of lifestyle, and because you see the same thing with Kevin and Tori Hart a little bit,
Right.
right? I mean, and it's just interesting to me, and I wonder if there is some sort of resentment over the idea that says, "Wait, I was with you when not nearly as many people wanted you as there are who want you right now." And now that you have better options, you've moved on and you've done something else. Um, do you think that maybe any of that's justified, or do you think that that's just life?
I think it's life. I think it's very unfair. When you get married, usually it's, you're planning your future. So a divorce is a death, right? The way that you anticipated your life unfolding always involved this person. But it's really important for people to be able to let go. Now, again, this couple has been separated since 2007. For those of you who don't remember, the divorce was really utterly ridiculous. She went through about 16 lawyers, and I'm talking about the Wade case. 16 attorneys. There were arrests, tons of drama, public smearing. Even when the divorce was finalized, some of her comments were, I didn't agree to this settlement. The judge actually decided that they would have this final settlement. So she did have a very hard time letting go. But I think an important thing for the women who happen to usually be the parties in these situations weren't the primary breadwinners and sometimes have a harder time letting go. Once a man decides that he no longer wants to be with you, there's nothing you can do. I think a lot of times people get caught up with what they thought they were supposed to have instead of focusing on what they actually have now. And I say this, for example, you might have thought you were supposed to have half of $100 million net worth, but you have $5 million. That's much more money than most people will ever have. Right? So if you decided I was going to downsize to a smaller house that's still luxurious and posh, or a condo, you could live a great life just off the interest of $4 million. But people become so preoccupied in what they lost and not really coping with the hurt and the pain and moving forward. Instead, you're staying in like this punishment cycle. And really, once someone is done, whether it's a man or woman, it's over. You can't force them to come back. And punishing them is only really punishing yourself. And you see, like you said, with the Tori Hart thing as well, she's on a new show called Atlanta Exes, really talking about, the challenges of helping build a comedian and build his career and supporting him and then having him be unfaithful. And Kevin's response in the media has kind of been pretty respectful, but also that was 6 years ago. He's moved on. Dwyane has moved on. So it's up to women. And, this is not just for the superstar. This is for the average Joe, too. You'll find women who are stuck on what their ex-boyfriend did or their ex-husband or their ex-baby daddy. He's moved on to a new relationship, new job. He might be a different man. He might be the same man. But that person just isn't for you. And the same with the ex-girlfriend. So I definitely say, of course, you plan your heart and your finances based on that couple and based on that union. But once it's done, you have to now redefine, recreate, rework your plan, and move forward with what you have. Because if you've been doing the work for the last 4 of the 6 years, you'd be in a completely different place.
Interesting. Well, I guess my last word on that is that it's interesting to me and tragic as well. When you see situations where, like with Siohvaughn, when she was on the corner holding up the sign saying, "I'm Dwyane Wade's child's mother and I'm homeless" or something like that. You saw that with Beyonce's dad and the child support issue that he had, where the woman was in the tabloids saying, "We're homeless now," because it was his responsibility to give me a place to live. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of it's hard to really process and understand it entirely from the outside in. There does seem to be some sort of sense of entitlement there, not in a negative way. Sometimes you feel entitled to something because you are entitled to it,
Absolutely.
right? And we know that there was a time where marriage did mean forever. But times have changed, unfortunately. As an economist, I see a lot of things as a market. You're the relationship person. I'm the financial person.
Right.
And the thing is, if you think about a market, think about a job market. Imagine if you hire an employee to come work for you, and they do a great job, and you pay them on time. But suddenly that employee's skills become, really high demand. Let's say that they get a master's degree, and suddenly, the $50,000 you're paying them a year is nothing compared to the $130,000 that a company across the street is offering them. Well, the person may be loyal to you for a while, and you may give them a raise. You may say, "Look, here's $70,000, right?" And you think you're doing as much as you can, and you think that because you've done the best you can, that you should be able to keep that person with you. But unfortunately, the market may just put so much pressure on the relationship that the person may jump ship. And it's not always because of something you did wrong. It might just be because the person just has these other opportunities that are difficult for you to compete with. And that's what I see sometimes with celebrity relationships, with Kevin Hart, Dwyane Wade. Here you had two guys. I mean, Kevin Hart is a short little man. I mean, what's he, 5'0"? I mean, he's a little tiny man.
Sounds like a hater.
I am such a hater. I'm such a hater because he's so much more talented than me. Got so much more money than me. But in all seriousness though, I mean, how many women are really going to be chasing after Kevin Hart when he was that comedian that was so bad that he was getting booed off the stage and people threw chicken at him? Literally, somebody threw chicken at him to get him off the stage. I mean, women wouldn't have wanted him then, but suddenly, but Tori did. Tori was there. She said, "I believe in you. I see your potential. I'm going to develop you. I'm going to be with you, all along the way." And then suddenly Kevin's the biggest comedian on earth, one of the biggest black comedians in history. He's being compared to Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Chris Rock, all the greats. Every woman around, it's even the woman he's engaged to. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I cannot imagine her wanting him when Kevin was getting chicken thrown at him on the stage. So now you're talking about a bigger market, more competition, a tougher scenario. Now, here's what it does. Here's what it does, in my opinion. This is me just keeping it way too real. I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Here's the thing. Most people don't want to admit that change has occurred. Most people don't want to say, well, that I would be that person who would, take the better deal because it's being offered to me. What happens is you get situations where your margin of error gets thinner and thinner. So let's go to the analogy of the employee. You got the employee who knows every day, they know that they can get 3 times more money working for the person across the street than they can get from working for you. And the person across the street is saying, well, your boss doesn't let you have the weekends off. I'll let you have the weekends off, and I'll give you a weekday off. Oh, your boss is you're making you work overtime for nothing. Well, I'll pay you triple for your overtime. Or your boss only gives you 1 vacation a year. I'll give you 2 vacations a year. And then you come to work, and then your boss, let's say your boss is stressing you out, and your boss is forcing you to do these things you don't want to do. The job's becoming uncomfortable. Then one day you just say, you know what? I don't have to put up with this. I've got all these other opportunities. I'm gone. Right? And the way you respond to that pressure is different if you have no opportunities than it is when you have lots of opportunities. So when you're talking about a Kevin Hart, back when he was getting, when people were throwing chicken at him on stage, he had no other opportunities. So Tori could piss him off and or do it, whatever happened in their relationship. All relationships have their ups and downs, and he would stick with it because he had no other options. Then suddenly he's the biggest comedian in the world. He's got options. So then that little argument that normally would have been, washed over and washed away, and you'd have fought through it, that might be the one where he says, you know what, I don't have to be here. I'm gone. Right? That's the reality of relationships. And so I would argue, my opinion, my super real advice that I would give women watching, including my daughters, is, to understand that this day and age, really nothing is permanent unless you're with a person who truly inflects a value system that says that they truly believe marriage is real and marriage is permanent. That's a small percentage of people. For most people, it's not till death do you part. It's till divorce do you part, or until I get so annoyed with you that I have to go. Right?
Well, I will say this in parting. I think your analogy has some really strong points, but I do want to put out there that for women who are loyal and supportive to men, and vice versa, men for women, while they're on their come up, it should not be assumed that you will always be dumped for an upgrade, because that's essentially what you're saying. Once you can get someone,
I didn't say always. I would say it's always a possibility.
Right.
Right.
However, I do think it's important to be mindful of the realistic challenges that are there when you have a celebrity or a person of power who you're dating. So, it's nice to say that a person should just love you for you, but we know that there's so many variables in a marriage and any relationship that make it last. So it's really up to you to decide whether or not you're willing to take the risk, right? Am I willing to invest in someone knowing that the possibility of change is there? And that's in any kind of relationship. But I also think from a realistic standpoint, as a woman specifically, when you're dating someone who aspires to be a superstar, you have to know that as soon as celebrity hits, life changes. So there's so many girls who I want to date this rapper, or I want to date this actor. This is another really big part of being in that pool. When you date someone who has many options, and a lot of people who will offer them things without demands. Like, for example, Kevin Hart was with his girlfriend for 5 years before they got married, right? And so for some people, that's a long time to date someone, and who knows what's happened during that time period. That is a game changer. So you have to be really realistic and prepared for what living in that lifestyle entails. So it's not just the big car. It's also big options for your mate. But we'd love to hear your thoughts on this topic, so write in and let us know. Thanks for listening.
And you didn't let me finish my point, but I will just say, too, just out of fairness, that it does happen to men as well. If you're that guy who's dating Beyonce or Jennifer Hudson, you got competition, too. So it's not just, it doesn't just happen to women. I think you can.
I did include men in it, but I think we overwhelmingly see that it happens with women more so than men. And that's of all races, so.
I agree.
So,
all right.
As we say, I'm right. Have a great day.
Yes, you are. Yes, dear. Bye-bye.